Good afternoon, students. Once again, a welcome to you to our online class. Students, this is your social science period, and in this period, I am going to continue the same chapter from history book, that is Nationalism in India. Okay, I repeat, in this video, I am going to carry on the same chapter, that is Nationalism in India, from the book History. In the previous video, we have studied up to that achievements of Mahatma Gandhi, the early achievements of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, in this video, we will study two important topics. One is the struggle against Rowlatt Act and non-cooperation. The struggle against Rowlatt Act and non-cooperation, these two topics we are going to cover in this video. Fine, students. So let us start the topic. Our first topic is Rowlatt Act. The Rowlatt Act. Already you come to know that Mahatma Gandhi, he got success in his early struggles, in his early attempts. Achievement in Champaran, achievement in Kheda district of Gujarat, achievement in Ahmedabad, and he became the national figure. He became identified throughout the country. He became a national hero now. So now Mahatma Gandhi, after getting success in all the three movements, now Mahatma Gandhi decided what? To launch a national-wide satyagraha, a nationwide satyagraha against the proposed Rowlatt Act 1919. After getting success by Mahatma Gandhi in his early activities, that is Champaran, that is forced plantation system, Kheda movement against the British revenue officials, and Ahmedabad mill workers, that is against the unjust by the mill owners. He got success. Now, after getting success in all these three events, Mahatma Gandhi's his moral was increased, and he decided in 1919, Mahatma Gandhi decided to launch a nationwide or nationwide satyagraha against the proposed Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act was passed in 1919. Rowlatt Act was passed in 1919 by the Imperial Legislative Council, England. Rowlatt Act was passed in the year 1919 by the Imperial Legislative Council of England. This act was passed hurriedly. This act was passed hurriedly, okay, at the time in 1919. And all Indian members, there are some members in Imperial Legislative Council. Some Indians also there as the member of that as the members of the Imperial Legislative Council, like Dadabhai Naoroji, okay, like this. So the Indian members, they unitedly opposed. The Indian members of the Imperial Legislative Council, they unitedly, those who are the members, 5-6 members, so all these members unitedly, they opposed this hurriedly passed Rowlatt Act by the Imperial Legislative Council of England in 1919. Okay, this Rowlatt Act was passed by Rowlatt, a person called Rowlatt. Okay, so on behalf of his name, this act is called Rowlatt Act. Actually, Rowlatt is the name of a person. So since he passed that act, this act is known as Rowlatt Act. This act, okay, gave the governments so many powers, enormous powers. This Rowlatt Act, which is passed by Imperial Legislative Council of England, it gave lot of power to the government to repress, to stop, to stem down This Rowlatt Act gave enormous powers to the government to repress, to stem down, okay, all the political activities, okay, in India against the British government. This Rowlatt Act, it gave so many powers. I'm sorry. This Rowlatt Act gave so many powers to the British government in India to repress, to suppress, to stem down all the political activities which are carried by the Indian political leaders against the British government. And also it gave one more power, that detention of political prisoners. I mean, if any political leader is organizing any political activity against the British government, then without any trial in the court, that person will be arrested or detained. Detention means what? To arrest, to keep in prison. So if any Indian or any political leader or any nationalist leader in India is organizing any political activities in India against the British government, then the government have right under this Rowlatt Act to detain that person without any trial for a period of 2 years, or for a period for 2 years. Hence, Mahatma Gandhi was unhappy with this Rowlatt Act. Hence, he decided, he wanted to launch a non-violent civil disobedience. Mahatma Gandhi was very much upset. Mahatma Gandhi was very much dissatisfied with the passage of Rowlatt Act by the Imperial Legislative Council of England. He was very much unhappy. Hence, Mahatma Gandhi wanted to start a non-violent civil disobedience. A non-violent civil disobedient against such unjustful laws. Mahatma Gandhi, he found that Rowlatt Act was not just, it is very unjust. This act is not just one. Through this, many Indians are been arrested without any trial for a period of 2 years. It is wrong. So Mahatma Gandhi decided to launch a what? Non-violent civil disobedience movement against this unjust laws called Rowlatt Act. Hence there was a general hartal, HARTL, general hartal on 6th April 1919. So there was a general hartal on 6th April 1919 against Rowlatt Act. Now listen. So when this general hartal was carried out against Rowlatt Act, then what happened? Several rallies were organized. In various cities against Rowlatt Act. Several rallies were organized, okay, in many cities of India against this Rowlatt Act. Workers went on strike in railway workshops. Railway workshops means what? Where these locomotives, passenger trains, coaches, engines, all are manufactured. So workers, they went on strike in railway workshops. Okay, shops were closed down. Business people, they closed their shops. Okay, so alarmed by this popular rising, who alarmed? The British government. Alarmed by this popular upsurge and scared, feared British government. So alarmed by the popular upsurge and scared that the lines of the communication such as the railways and telegraphs will be disrupted, the British administration decided to clamp down on nationalists. Against this Rowlatt Act, there was a general hartal on 6th April 1919. Under this general hartal, several rallies were organized in many important cities of India. Workers of India, they stopped going to the railway workshops where they used to work. Many business people, they closed their shops, they are not selling anything. So when these things are organized, the British government is alarmed. So alarmed by this growing upsurge, and the British government also scared. What they scared? Maybe these workers, maybe these common people, maybe these nationalist people, they may cut the railway tracks. they may disrupt the telecommunication. I mean, they may break the railway track. They may cut the telecommunications. Hence, with that fear, scared by these things, scared by this situation, the British government decided to stem down what the nationalists in India. Local leaders, several local leaders. See, every area is having some local leaders. So several local leaders in Punjab were picked up. Some local leaders in Punjab were arrested. I remember they are Dr. Satyapal Singh and Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu. Dr. Satyapal Singh and Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu are two important local leaders of Punjab. They are being arrested in 1919. Okay, so several local leaders were arrested, picked up, and moreover, Mahatma Gandhi was barred to enter into Delhi, and Mahatma Gandhi was not allowed to go to Delhi. So Mahatma Gandhi was barred from entering Delhi. He was not allowed to go to Delhi. If he will go to Delhi, again the movement will be increased. So this is the step taken by the British government. So on 10th April 1919, the police in Amritsar, listen carefully, on 10th April 1919, the police in Amritsar is a place in Punjab, my dear students. Amritsar location also will be asked to you to locate in the board exam. Amritsar, Champaran, Kheda, Ahmedabad, all. So Amritsar. So on 10th April 1919, the police in Amritsar fired upon a peaceful procession, provoking widespread attacks on banks, post offices and railway stations. There was an attack. On 10th April 1919, there was an attack by the British police on the nationalist people or Indian people who are trying to attack on banks, post offices and railway stations. Martial law, military rule, martial law was imposed in Punjab. Martial law was imposed in Punjab on 10th April 1919, December. On 10th April 1919, martial law was imposed by the British government in Punjab. And General Dyer, his full name is General Michael O. Dyer. General Michael O. Dyer or General Dyer. I repeat, General Michael O. Dyer or General Dyer took the command in Punjab. He was given the work to control the situation in Punjab by the British government. Okay, now listen carefully. Now what I am telling, listen carefully. Listen carefully. This I am telling about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy. So you will be asked in the board exam, describe about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy. So my dear students, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy took place in Amritsar on 13th April 1919. I repeat, on 13th April 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy took place. Here massacre means what? Mass killings. Here massacre means what? Mass killings. So the Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy took place on 13th April 1919 in Amritsar in Punjab. I repeat, on 13th April 1919 at Jallianwala Bagh, which is in Amritsar in Punjab, there one tragedy took place, massacre took place in 1919. So this event in the history of India is referred as what? The Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy. Here massacre means what? Mass killings. When many people are killed at a time. Now listen. On 13th April, the infamous Jallianwala Bagh incident took place. On that day, a large crowd gathered in the closed ground of Jallianwala Bagh. So Jallianwala Bagh is a closed area. It is a closed area. So large crowd gathered there on that day. So on that day, on 13th April 1919, on that day, a large crowd gathered in that enclosed ground of Jallianwala Bagh, which is in Amritsar. Some came to protest against the government new repressive measures. Many people came to that place, the Jallianwala Bagh, in order to oppose the British newly introduced repressive measures. Okay. Others had come to attend the annual Baisakhi fair. Actually, that is Baisakhi season. Okay, Baisakhi fair was going on. I mean, some people they came in order to oppose the British government's repressive policies or measures, whereas some other people gathered there to attend the annual Baisakhi fair. So many innocent people from the neighboring villages, they reached there that place on the occasion of to observe the annual Baisakhi fair. Being from outside the city, these people who came from nearby villages to attend the Baisakhi fair, they have no idea about the martial law is going in Punjab. Half of the crowd they reached there in a protest against the newly introduced British repressive measures. Remaining half of the people they came from the nearby villages in order to see the Baisakhi fair. These innocent people they have no idea that the martial law is going on in India in Amritsar. Actually, martial law was started, military rule was started on 10th April 1919. Okay. So these villagers were unaware of the martial law that had been imposed by the British government. General Dyer, he entered the area. Where he entered? He entered that Jallianwala Bagh gate. Actually, he got the information that many people gathered. He got the information that many people gathered in that area in a protest against the British government. Okay, and also that Rowlatt Act. Sorry. Actually, the General Michael O'Dwyer, who took the command to control the situation in Punjab, he got the order. He got the information that many Indians, many Punjabi people, they gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh as a protest against the Rowlatt Act and the British government. So the British government gave order to the British government gave order to this Michael O'Dwyer to go along with his army and to disrupt the crowd or the procession which is gathered in that bagh. So Michael O'Dwyer entered that area. The Jallianwala Bagh actually it is surrounded by three sides high wall. Three sides high wall is there, and one side there is only exit and entry. Only one exit, one entry. So Michael O'Dwyer reached there, that area, and he blocked that exit point. He closed that exit point, and now nobody can enter, nobody can come out. And ordered his people, his army, to go on fire on the crowd. He was asked to go there to disrupt that procession, that gathering, that crowd. But this person went there, he closed that only exit of that Jallianwala Bagh and ordered his army, his people, to fire on the crowd. So firing was took place. The firing was took place. The firing continued till the ammunition was completed. The firing was continued till the ammunition was completed by everyone. Hundreds of people were killed. His object, as he declared later, this incident took place. Many people killed. Even many people, many women who also gathered in that crowd, they committed suicide. They jumped into the well which is there in that bagh. They commit suicide. They don't want to go into the hands of the Britishers. So they jumped into the well. They committed suicide. So this incident took place, and this incident is known as Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy, which took place in 13th April 1919. So on asking the General Michael O'Dwyer, he declared one day what? His object, as he declared later, was to produce a moral effect. This Michael O'Dwyer said that I want to give a moral effect of the British government on Indians. I want to show how the British government is. I want to give them moral effect on the minds of the Indians, that how cruel or how strict the British government can be. Whatever they want, they can do. So his object, as he declared later, was to produce a moral effect on the people of India, to create in the minds of the Satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. He wanted to create the feeling of terror, the feeling of terror and the feeling of awe in the minds of the Satyagrahis. So in order to create terror and awe in the minds of the Satyagrahis, he went for this incident. So as the news of Jallianwala Bagh spread throughout the state and later throughout the country, crowds took on the streets. Many people they came out on the streets in all North Indian states, in all North Indian towns. When this Jallianwala Bagh massacre tragedy spread throughout India, then many people came out of their houses in all North Indian towns. There were strikes, clashes with the police, and attacks on government buildings. Many Indians, many people in North Indian towns, they came out of their houses on the streets. They attacked on government buildings, attacked on police stations. The British government also responded with brutal repression on satyagrahis. The British government also responded with brutal repression, seeking to humiliate and terrorize people. Satyagrahis were forced to rub their nose on the ground. Those satyagrahis who were arrested, who were captured by the British government, they were forced to rub their nose on the ground. They were forced to rub their nose on the ground, crawl on the street, crawl on the street. They crawl on the street. They made the satyagrahis to rub their nose on the ground, crawl on the streets, and do salam. I mean salute. Salam. I mean salute. Okay, salam salute to all sahibs. I mean all British officers. Many people were flogged. Flogged means what? Beating with the help of cane. One cane, very thick cane. Beating with the help of cane on the head till the person dies. That's called flogged. So many people were flogged, and villages around Gurjanwala in Punjab, now in Pakistan, were bombed. That Gurjanwala is a place of Punjab at that time, but today it went into the Pakistan territory due to partition of India. Their bombarding was took place. Seeing this violence spread, Mahatma Gandhi called off this movement. By seeing this non-violence, actually Mahatma Gandhi started Mahatma Gandhi started the movement against the Rowlatt Act based on truth and non-violence. Mahatma Gandhi started the non-violent and civil disciplines movement against the Rowlatt Act. Mahatma Gandhi on 6th April 1919, he started a non-violent and civil disobedience movement against the Rowlatt Act, which is passed hurriedly by the Imperial Legislative Council of England. But this now what happened? Everywhere there was violence, everywhere there was bloodshed. So Mahatma Gandhi was not happy, because the movement which he wanted to carry out on based on truth and non-violence, now it turned into violence. Hence Mahatma Gandhi gave a call off. Asked the people to stop the movement further. So in this way the Rowlatt Act movement was stopped. Okay. While the Rowlatt Satyagraha had been a widespread movement, it was limited to mostly towns and cities. This Rowlatt Act Satyagraha, I told you, it was more in the North Indian towns, and that too it was limited to cities and towns only. It was not spread in villages. The movement against Rowlatt Act was carried more in towns and cities, particularly in North India, but not in villages. So Mahatma Gandhi now felt the need to launch a more broad-based movement in India. Mahatma Gandhi felt that there is a need to launch a more broad-based movement in India. Okay. But he was certain that no such movement could be organized without bringing the Hindus and Muslims. And Mahatma Gandhi also believed that if he wanted to carry out a broad-based movement in India, more bigger than the Rowlatt Act movement, more bigger than the movement against Rowlatt Act, if he want to carry out a broad-based movement throughout India with the support of all the people, for which he felt that there is an urgent need for Hindu-Muslims unity. If Hindu-Muslims will come together closer, then only he can carry out such broad movement. So, but he was certain that no such movement could be organized without bringing the Hindus and Muslims closer together. One way of doing this, he felt that, was to take up the Khilafat issue. Then Mahatma Gandhi decided, if Mahatma Gandhi will support the Muslim people in Khilafat movement against Britishers, if Mahatma Gandhi will support the Muslim people, the Muslim League people or Muslim people in the Khilafat movement against Britishers, definitely they will also help Mahatma Gandhi in his movement when he will start. So one way of doing so, this he felt was to take up the issue, Khilafat issue. Now, what is Khilafat movement? I told you Khilafat movement. Khilafat movement was started by the Muslim people all over the world. Same in India. Khilafat movement was started by the Muslim people all over the world against the Britishers. Why? Because the ruler of Turkey, the Sultan of Turkey, ruler of Turkey, whom all the Muslims all over the world considered as the Khalifa, their religious head, such person was completely humiliated after World War I. So that made all the Muslims anger all over the world. Hence, Muslims all over the world, they launched a movement against the Britishers, which is called Khilafat movement. Since in India Muslims are there, and at that time British rule was also there in India, hence Indian Muslims, they launched the Khilafat movement against the Britishers. And this movement was headed by two important leaders. One is Maulana Muhammad Ali and Maulana Shaukat Ali, both are Ali brothers. Okay, so I'm reading. The First World War had ended the defeat of Ottoman Empire. I mean, in the First World War, Turkey was also fought from Central Power side. In the First World War, Turkey also fought in the World War I. At that time, Ottoman Empire was there in Turkey, and Turkey was defeated in the World War I. When Turkey was defeated, the ruler of Turkey was captured, arrested. Actually, he was considered as the religious head of Muslims all over the world. This person, after captured, was forced to sign several unjust terms of treaty, and he was completely humiliated, which made all the Muslims all over the world anger. Hence, they decided to take revenge against the Britishers. Hence, they launched Khilafat movement. Since at the time India was under British control, British rule was there, and naturally in India Muslims also there. Hence, Muslims in India, they decided to launch a movement against the Britishers in India, in which they wanted the help of Hindus also. Hence, they approached Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi agreed to help for the cause of Khilafat issue. He helped the Muslims against the Britishers, thinking that the Muslim people also will help him whenever he will start any broad-based movement in India. Okay. So the First World War have ended with the defeat of the Ottoman Turkey, and there was rumors that a harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on Ottoman Emperor, the spiritual head of Islamic world, the Khalifa. To defend the Khalifa's temporal powers, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay. You please underline. Where do the Khilafat committee was formed? Where do the Khilafat committee was formed in India? The Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay in 1919, March 1919. The Khilafat committee was formed in March 1919 in Bombay. The Khilafat committee was formed in March 1919 in Bombay. And a young generation of Muslim leaders like brothers Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali began discussing with Mahatma Gandhi about the possibility of what? Of a united mass action on the issue against Britishers. Gandhiji saw this an opportunity. Gandhiji also saw this opportunity as favorable to him, that this is the only movement where we can bring Hindus and Muslims closer. When Muhammad Ali or Shaukat Ali approached Mahatma Gandhi to help them against the British rule, British government, then Mahatma Gandhi also waiting for such an opportunity which will help in bringing the Hindus and Muslims closer, Hindu-Muslim unity. Okay. So, Gandhi saw this as an opportunity of bringing unity between Hindus and Muslims under one umbrella of a unified national movement. At the Calcutta session, now listen, Khilafat committee was formed in March 1990 at Bombay. Now, at Kolkata session, here session means what? Meeting. Actually, every year Indian National Congress had its meeting every year. So this time in Kolkata, sometimes there may be, every year they have meeting sessions. Sometimes same place, 2 years or after 3 years, again the same place they can choose. So at the Kolkata session of Congress in September 1920, you will be asked, the Kolkata session of Indian National Congress held in 1920. The Kolkata session of Indian National Congress was held in 1920. Here he convinced other leaders, Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, in the Kolkata session of Indian National Congress, which was held in 1920, there he convinced all his other Congress leaders that there is a need to start a non-cooperation movement. He convinced the other Indian National Congress leaders to start a non-cooperation movement in India in the support of Khilafat as well as for Swaraj. Mahatma Gandhi in the Kolkata session held in 1919, so 1920, Mahatma Gandhi, he convinced some other Indian National Congress leaders, okay, of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in India in support of Khilafat at the same time as well as for our Swaraj, I mean self-rule. Okay, now why non-cooperation? Our next topic is what? Non-cooperation. Let us see non-cooperation. Listen. Sorry. Non-cooperation. In now underline, very important, one more question I'm telling now. One more question. In his famous book Hind Swaraj, who wrote Hind Swaraj? Mahatma Gandhi. Who wrote Hind Swaraj? Mahatma Gandhi. So in his famous book Hind Swaraj, which was written in 1909. So the famous book Hind Swaraj was written by Mahatma Gandhi in 1909. So in his famous book Hind Swaraj in 1909, Mahatma Gandhi declared, what he declared? The British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians only. Mahatma Gandhi wrote one book, and the name of the book is what? Hind Swaraj. He wrote the book in 1909, and in that book Mahatma Gandhi described that today the British rule was there in India only because that many Indians at that time supported the Britishers. If that day, if Indians might have not supported the Britishers, they might have not established their rule in India. So in the Swaraj book, Mahatma Gandhi wrote that today the British rule is there in India only because many Indians supported the Britishers and had survived only because of their cooperation. Many Indian people are supporting the British government. Many Indian people are supporting British government. That's why the British government was surviving in India so far. Again he said, if all Indians refused to cooperate, the British rule in India would be collapsed within a year. If all Indians will start refusing the Britishers, their government, then within 1 year the British rule will be ended and Swaraj would come. I mean, we can have self-rule. So this he mentioned in his famous book Hind Swaraj in 1909. Now, how could non-cooperation become a movement? How could non-cooperation become a movement? This question. Answer. Gandhiji proposed that the movement should unfold in stages. Gandhi said that the non-cooperation movement which he wanted to start in India against the British rule. Here non-cooperation means what? Not to cooperate. Non-cooperation means not to cooperate with the British government in every sense, in every field. He said that we will not cooperate with the Britishers in every field. So, how could non-cooperation become a movement? Gandhiji proposed that the movement should unfold in stages. He said that the non-cooperation movement which he is planning to start in India against British rule, he wanted to start on stages, different stages. First, he should begin with the surrender of titles. Mahatma Gandhi said that first we will surrender the titles which were granted to them by the British government. Actually, during British rule, the British government, they sold the titles, they gave the titles to some of the people in return of money, or sometimes due to achievement, mostly in return of money and sometimes due to achievement. So the British government gave several titles. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, they gave the titles the Sir. Similarly, Sher-e-Punjab, I mean Lion of Punjab, Grand Old Man of India for that Dadabhai Naoroji. Okay, Lion of Punjab, Lala Lajpat Rai, Grand Old Man of India, that is go by this Dadabhai Naoroji, the Sir for Mahatma Gandhi. Like that, they gave so many titles. So Mahatma Gandhi said that as a part of non-cooperation, first we will surrender all the titles which were given by the British government or which were awarded by the British government, and a boycott of civil services. Mahatma Gandhi said the second one, we will boycott to enter into the civil services. We will not write any civil service exam which is conducted by the British government in India. Which are conducted by the British government in England. At the time, civil services exams were conducted in London or England. Okay. So Mahatma Gandhi said that we will boycott all the civil services exam. Second one, we will boycott the army, the police, the court and the legislative councils. We will boycott all. We will not enter into the civil service. We will not enter into the British army. We will not join in the British police. okay, we will not work in the British courts and we will not work in the British legislative councils. We will not work in the British schools or the schools which are started with the British government, and also we will boycott all foreign goods. This is the second stage. Then in case the government used repression, suppose with this, if the government is failed, we can get success. Suppose in order to suppose the British government will adopt any repressive measures in order to control this movement. If suppose the British government is using repression in carrying out this movement, I mean if the British government will use repression on Indians when they are carrying this non-cooperation movement, then what will happen? A full civil disobedience movement, a full civil disobedience movement campaign would be launched at that time. I mean, when the non-cooperation movement is going on, everything is fine. But if the British government will adopt any repressive measures on Indians to control this movement, then Mahatma Gandhi decided that he will start a full-fledged civil disobedience movement, okay, against British government in India. Now, listen carefully. Through the summer of 1920, Mahatma Gandhi and Shaukat Ali toured throughout India extensively. Here, Shaukat Ali and Mahatma Gandhi in 1920 summer season, they traveled throughout India to know the situation, and they mobilized people to support them. Mahatma Gandhi and Shaukat Ali, Mahatma Gandhi Hindus and Shaukat Ali Muslims, both mobilized the people. I mean, both made the people to support for this non-cooperation movement. Many within the Congress were, however, concerned about the proposals. Many within the Congress party were, however, concerned about the proposals. They were reluctant to boycott the council elections scheduled for November 1920. I mean, many leaders in International Congress, they were not willing to agree the boycott of the council elections. Actually, Mahatma Gandhi said that we will boycott the council elections, entry into legislative councils. But many leaders of International Congress, they said that we will not follow this one. We will enter into the legislative councils. After participating in the elections, if we will win in the election, then only we will get power, and with that power we will fight. Like that, some of the Indian National Congress felt that. Actually, Mahatma Gandhi said that to boycott the legislative councils and their elections. But many Indian National Congress leaders, they were reluctant to obey this one, because they believed that after entering into the council elections, if they are winning the elections, they get power in their hand, and with that power, they'll fight against the British government. Okay. So, and feared that the movement might lead to popular violence. In months between September and December, there was an intense tussle within the Congress. For a while, there seemed no meeting point between the supporters and the opponents of the movement. I mean, many people in Indian National Congress, actually Indian National Congress is a very big party. So many leaders, they supported this non-cooperation movement, and many people opposed this one. So there was a opposition and support of this movement, and there is no end point to this one for a long time. Finally, at the Congress session at Nagpur, underline this one. Finally, in the Nagpur Congress session, which was held in December 1920, finally, in the Nagpur Congress session, or finally, the Congress met at Nagpur in December 1920. In that meeting, a compromise, an agreement was worked out, and the non-cooperation movement program was adopted. They agreed, yes, okay, fine. One compromise was agreed, one compromise was made, one agreement was made, and according to the agreement, the remaining leaders also said that, okay, fine, we will support this movement. Hence, this movement was started. Now, how did this movement unfold? Non-cooperation movement was started, and Mahatma Gandhi said that he will start this movement in different stages. First, we will give up this one, then we will give up this one, then we will do this one, like this. But now see, how did this movement unfold? How this non-cooperation movement was stopped all of a sudden? Who participated in it? How did different social groups conceive of the idea of non-cooperation? I mean, very big topic this is. How did the movement unfold? Or how this movement was started? When it was started? Who participated in this non-cooperation movement? Which different social groups participated in this non-cooperation movement? And for each social group, what is the meaning of non-cooperation? So let us study all these things in detail. So students, up to here I completed. Now I am going to next topic, that is different stands within the movement. Different stands within the movement. That topic I'll take. So this topic I completed. I am stopping up to here. Okay. Thank you students. Take Take care. Again, I'll come with another video with some more topics from the same chapter. Okay, students? Thank you.